Warning, warning, if you're in Canada and you're paying child support, I got some bad news for you, okay? Oftentimes I'll read different decisions made from other jurisdictions, especially family law decisions, that interest me. And there was a case recently handed down by the Canadian Supreme Court of Canada, regarding a child support case that originated in British Columbia. And I could talk about this for hours, but I'm going to cut it down to 2 or 3 minutes. First, I'm going to give you the name of the case. It's Michael v. Graydon, and the site, so you could Google it and look at what I'm looking at, is 2020 SCC 24. And this is just a case brief that the Supreme Court of Canada will publish. The actual decision is over 90 pages, and I read that, and here's why I'm making this video. This case opened up a huge Pandora's box for actually a nightmare. If anybody's paying child support in Canada, that the payee, or the woman or the mom in most cases, can go back years later and seek retroactive child support because you weren't forthcoming with all of your income during all the years that you were paying child support. But what makes this case just head-spinning is, in this case, in March of 2001, the defendant, dad, said, yeah, I make $39,832 a year. But he said that in March of 2001, but he ended the year at $45,000. So he's about $6,000 off. And mom says years later, after the child is no longer a child, and by the way, this couple was never even formally married. They just lived together. And there you go, British Columbia, common law marriage. If you have a child, you're married if you're cohabitating after 1 year. But mom goes back years later, kid graduated from college, and says, hey, wait a second. I think he's made more than $40,000 a year, and he owes me for all those years. And guess what? The trial court in British Columbia agreed with her. So he appealed to the appellate court in that province, in British Columbia, and he won on appeal. They said, we're not going digging back into all these old child support cases. You know, we have to have an end to this. We want it to be final eventually. So it was appealed to the Supreme Court of Canada. And guess what? He lost on appeal. Why? Why did he lose on appeal? Well, you can read their decision, but I think it may have had something to do with the fact that mom was also receiving public assistance. And when you receive public assistance in Canada and many other jurisdictions in the U.S., it's offset by child support payments made by the payor. So if you're getting public assistance, if you collect child support, the government keeps that child support money to offset what they paid you in public assistance. So basically, based on this ruling, and it's a very convoluted ruling case, you have to follow it closely, and if you want a complete explanation, talk to a lawyer in Canada that practices family law. But bottom line is, in Canada now, based on this ruling, it's possible that years after the child graduates from college, you could be at the kid's wedding, okay? And the mom could say, you know what? He's driving an awful expensive car, and his new girlfriend's wearing an awful lot of beautiful jewelry. There's no way he could be making what he said he was making. I wonder how long we can go back. And in this case, they went all the way back to 2001. What a mess. Best thing to do, if you have to pay child support, you want to make sure that you follow what your attorney in Canada or anywhere else is telling you. Now, in the U.S., at least in jurisdictions I'm familiar with, they don't want to open a Pandora's box and go back. In most cases, they ask the payee or the mom who has primary custody, why didn't you go and raise this issue years ago or earlier? In this Canadian case, the court seemed to say that dad had blameworthy conduct by not accounting for all of his income. But he said he made about 40 and he ended up making 45. What if he made, I could see if he said, I make about 40 and he makes 400. Then, there's a big difference in child support payments. Now, I don't want to ramble on too long, but if you're in Canada and you're paying child support, talk to your lawyer. Here's the case brief. Wow, Pandora's box, baby, has just been kicked open with no end in sight. The courts generally, in the jurisdictions I'm familiar with, they want the fighting to stop, okay? This, in Canada, whoa. Now, there's a lot of nuances here going on in this case, but if you're paying child support, talk to your lawyer in Canada and find out what's going on. And be careful out there. And if there was ever a reason not to have children, especially with someone who you don't want to marry or cohabitate with or co-parent with, here it is. Here it is, Canadian friends. Be careful out there. Leave a comment. Wow.